What happened to the symbols of the divine feminine, and where are our spiritual leaders, our harbingers of ancient wisdom, our priestesses of wild passion and unapologetic, unbridled female power? Hi, I'm Bliss Auburn, and this is the first look at my new painting titled Retribution. My painting challenges us to reclaim within ourselves and society as a whole the great narratives of female characters so we can be inspired to become the heroines in our own stories and save ourselves. This piece is 36 by 30 inches oil paint on board. When I set out to create a painting, I always aim for an overarching story that can be accessible and understood by the viewer, while also reserving something intimately meaningful for myself. As a personal narrative, this piece marks a trying point in my life. As the storm clouds gather around the hulking black hole of the eclipse, our heroine kneels poised in meditation. The kneeling position conveys a double meaning. She is weighed down by her oppressive burdens, yet steadies herself, ready to rise to her feet at the opportune moment. The atmospheric landscape surrounding her seems to go on forever, creating a dreamlike space meant to represent the ruminative mind. She holds a sword steadily in front of her body, an unwavering warrior ready to face any adversary coming her way. The heart-pierced by sword in the foreground represents betrayal, a great offense against the heart that one may not anticipate, too blind to see. The blindfold worn by the central figure also indicates that we know not what fate has intended for us, but we must channel our own power in the face of adversity. In life, we must all weather our impending storms, readying ourselves for what is to come with strength and with grace. My Retribution painting also serves as my personal tribute to the goddesses of old, found in ancient mythologies. The painting as a whole conveys an exalted icon desiring to be worshipped. The heroine in my painting represents not a single known goddess, but rather serves as a pantheistic symbol of the lost and forgotten deities which celebrated rather than stifled femininity. An eclipse hangs in the background behind her head, like an ominous halo, glorifying and illuminating the central deity. The central character is loosely based on the goddess Justitia, or who many would recognize as Lady Justice. She symbolizes fairness, equality, and the allegorical personification of the moral force in judicial systems. It is said that this deity originates from the ancient Greek goddess Themis and the Egyptian goddess Isis, who represented divine order, lawfulness, and equality. Some classical depictions of Themis show her holding a sword as the scales came later. To honor the original goddess, I presented her with swords instead of scales. The blades also serve as a nod to the tarot's Three of Swords, representing pain, grief, sorrow, and heartbreak. The piercing sword in the foreground reinforces this idea, conveying a violent act or offense against the goddess herself. I chose to pose the figure in a kneeling position to play on the idea that Lady Justice has fallen to her knees, subject to the injustices of societal oppression and religious demotion. When once temples and shrines were built in reverence to the goddesses, worshipped by oracles and priestesses alike, have now all but been replaced by masculine religious iconography. Our heroine is blindfolded by the systematic confines, biases, and lies that confine us. But the pose is also a hopeful one to show a transformative moment, like a phoenix about to rise and reclaim her power. The eclipse indicates an impending revolutionary event on the brink of violent change and upheaval, harbored by the blood-red sky of war, a spiritual conflict that is taking place all around us. The ominous eclipse in the fiery sky symbolizes vengeance and anger, the foreseeable reckoning of the divine feminine. The painting celebrates the resurgence of the female icon in modern times, which was once celebrated and idolized by many cultures predating Christianity. In execution, this painting was not without its many challenges. I wanted to create a surrealist landscape largely from imagination to convey an eerie and intense dreamlike atmosphere. I used a small segment of a picture of a forest floor for reference and repeated the forms of the tangled branches to give it the illusion that the ground infinitely expands. I achieved this by rendering the branches that are closest to the viewer and then simplified the shapes as they receded towards the horizon line. I also wanted the sky to appear as though it was almost like fire, so I used the intense color mixtures of cadmium orange and red, lemon yellow, lead white, and some alizarin crimson. I intentionally subdued the clouds to support the eclipse, which is the focal point of the painting, reserving the very brightest colors in my palette to make the light shine through. The eclipse is by large a simple black shape with a subtle red glow. I achieved a bright halo effect surrounding it by using lots of built-up layers of red, orange, yellow, and white paint. I applied deep purples and dark umbers to the foreground to contrast the warm colors of the sky. To create a believable horizon line, I later painted mountains and trees. Pulling my best Bob Ross, I used very small detail brushes to paint each tree individually, making them up as I went along, making sure each one had a slightly different shape and character. Utilizing reference photos from a good friend of mine, I wanted the painting to appear realistic while also imaginative. In painting the figure, I used a lot of warm tones in the flesh to make her appear to glow convincingly within this made-up space. I emphasized the yellows of the hair to enhance the illumination from the light cascading from the sky. I gave the swords a yellow and orange glow to give them the illusion of reflected light. I referenced a real anatomical heart, but I had to make up the sword piercing through it. The color glow on the hilt of the sword was created from imagination to give the illusion of reflected oranges and yellows from the heart. I painted the blood pooling into the crease of the sword blade to appear like a fresh cut. All in all, my aim here as an artist is to pose the following questions. What happened to our goddesses of old? Our Aphrodites, Athenas, our Viking Freya, our Egyptian Isis? Where are our great heroines who once filled the temples, inspired sonnets, which sparked the world's greatest conquests? What happened to the symbols of the divine feminine? And where are our spiritual leaders, our harbingers of ancient wisdom, our priestesses of wild passion and unapologetic, unbridled female power? In our modern age, where women face the aggressive revocation of rights and autonomy, we need stronger voices and deeper connections to our ancestral wisdom and the power that has been lost and stolen through time. In creating modern iconography, my work seeks to bring the divine feminine back to the forefront of our culture, both in celebration and in retribution. Thank you so much for watching. I want to know, what did you think of the painting? What does it mean to you? Please let me know in the comments section, and I'll see you in the next one.